Okay, lovely. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming to the session. My name is Diane Miller, and I work for the U.S. State Department in Washington, D.C. I'm known as what's called a regional English language officer, which means I'm a very glorified English language teacher. So I was an English language teacher for 20 years overseas, almost exclusively overseas. And then I was a teacher trainer for about 10 years overseas. And then I joined the Department of State to work in the field of educational exchange programs for American teachers to go overseas and teach overseas and learn something about another country or countries overseas, and also to provide opportunities for English language teachers in other countries to come to the United States and experience culture and life here. So I'm just going to go through a few of our programs. Before I get started, how many of you you're all doing your master's here, or certificate program, or undergraduate, or okay? How many of you are doing? How many are in undergrad programs here? Undergrad students? No. Graduate. Graduate. Okay, so you're all in the online, face-to-face and online master's course. Okay, great.
Most of these are PhD students.
And most of you are PhD. Okay, and who are PhD students? PhD. Okay, so 4 or 5 PhD students. Okay, great. So I will just sort of go over. Please feel free to interrupt me with questions. If you have questions, that's fine as we go along. So that's who we are. So the Office of English Language Programs, we have a main office in Washington, D.C., obviously, at the State Department, but then we work out of U.S. embassies overseas, okay? So we have a variety of programs: English Access Micro Scholarship Program, Fellows, Specialists, e-teacher scholarships, et cetera, various resources that we produce. And we have opportunities for universities. I was just meeting with the university faculty to talk about opportunities for the universities. But let's talk about opportunities for you. So I am a regional English language officer. Normally, now I am based in Washington, but most often I am based overseas at a U.S. embassy. Okay, so I've just come back from Hanoi, Vietnam, where I was for 3 years working on educational exchanges between Vietnam and the United States. And that's us. Okay. You don't need to see us. I hate photos of me. English Access Micro Scholarship Program. We offer a program taught by local teachers in their country, teaching disadvantaged kids English for 2 years, okay? So we would pay local English teachers to teach children how to learn English for 2 years. Why might this be important for you? Is we're often looking for American teachers, professors, to develop materials about teacher training for the teachers who teach on this program. So what we're trying to do is introduce American-style education to these teachers and these students. So more student-centered learning, more things about community development and community contributions, volunteerism, those sort of concepts we're trying to introduce into these classes. So we're often looking for people to go to overseas to train the teachers who teach on these programs, and that's one opportunity. Okay. The 2 big programs that we have are English Language Fellows, which we affectionately refer to as ELFs, because everything in the government is an acronym. So the English Language Fellows sends American teachers who have a minimum of a master's in TESOL or master in linguistics, could be related field, overseas to a country for up to 10 months. And we also have the English Language Specialist program, which would send usually people who are specializing. So once you're finished with your PhDs, who are specializing in a particular field of linguistics or a particular field of teaching English overseas. And we would send them overseas from anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 months, depending on the program. Okay, so I would introduce at this stage, I'll introduce my colleague, Tony Hull. How the U.S. government works is we need experts as well. So we contract with the Center for International Education and Development to help us recruit fellows and specialists for the programs. So I'll hand it over and let you talk about fellows and specialists.
Yep.
I'll sit back down here.
Can get the full tutorial and what not to do, but I won't touch anything except that, right? Right, so in fact, we're here in Texas because TexTESOL will be recruiting very specifically for the fellow program. And as Diane said, it's an amazing, she didn't use that word, but I'll introduce that word, amazing program, 10 months in over 70 countries. Both Diane and I have been fellows, and we can tell you all about that. So it's important to note that it is for professionals. What makes us different from Peace Corps or a lot of other programs is you've got that degree in TESOL and a number of years in the field, and you're working with professionals. You're often teaching in classrooms, but even more so, you're doing a lot of teacher training and working with the local associations in building their capacity to teach. So you're there as a professional. So you're also part of the public diplomacy mission of the local embassy, and that can be an incredibly rewarding part of the program because it's often done through outreach beyond your host institution, going to American corners and doing educational, cultural events, going almost anywhere you go. Of course, you are the American, and almost everything is an opportunity just to be an American. Very often the first one people have really had a chance to talk to. So it is part of that. And that varies from, as you can imagine, what you're doing, the kinds of issues you might be talking about, they varies depending upon the country and the relationship America has with that country. As I mentioned, we're in anywhere from 70 to 80 countries at one time. This map shows where we've been over the last 5 or 6 years. So I would say at least 90% of those are indeed the places we are right now, but a few we probably aren't right now. I have to find one. Madagascar, I don't think, maybe we don't have one there, I don't know. But almost everywhere where English is not a native language, or most of Western Europe, they don't need us. No, they don't need us to help them, we don't go there. Duties of an English language fellow, as I mentioned, definitely in-class teaching, but even more so training teachers. And that's very often at the pre-service bachelor's degree level. So much more in EFL, people are starting their training right at the bachelor's level. And certainly both of my fellowships, that's what I was doing, working with teachers who were going to be K through 12 teachers. Training of teachers can be both pre-service and in-service. It can be teachers K through 12 or university. It can be extremely experienced teachers, or inexperienced teachers. Developing materials, presenting at conferences, a very important part of it, and cultural activities. So there's always primary duties, which are almost always attached to a university or a teaching college. And a lot of what you also do is the secondary duties, which is outreach to communities, to teachers beyond your immediate university. The benefits are pretty nice. We get a $30,000 stipend, which is all yours except for what the United States government takes out in taxes. I just want to make sure that's clear. And then a living allowance, which covers your housing, your food, transportation for your work duties, and we also used to call utilities, but I don't know what they were supposed to be. But anyhow, the idea is that almost all of your expenses in country are provided for you either in some kind of little cash exchange. Sometimes it's in kind, maybe a pass to the cafeteria for lunches when you're teaching on campus. International travel, of course, we're going to send you back and forth from the country that you're assigned to, and a basic health benefit. if you have pre-existing conditions, you're going to want to hold on to your own health insurance, but this will cover emergencies, accidents in country. There's an activities allowance, which is wonderful. So of course your supplies for teaching will be covered. If you need some specific books, those will be covered. Maybe a printer or trips to the printer. And then most importantly, the expenses of doing all of that outreach, going to conferences and other workshops, your cultural events where you need to buy supplies for those and travel to and from your your secondary duties. And then a dependence allowance if you happen to have a significant other or children. So there's an additional $500 a month for one or more. So it's a $500 for 3 people, $500 for 1 person, if that 1 or more people are with you for 5 consecutive months. And that helps a little bit defray the cost of bringing somebody with you, certainly the travel back and forth and some of that extra food, etc. And then there are other, if you do have dependents, there are other certain circumstances to discuss with your embassy about housing and schooling and all of that. We don't cover those extra costs, but just how that works out depends on where you go. Okay, so who can apply? Already mentioned this, US citizens, that's the minimum, and then a graduate degree in TESOL or a related field. If the degree isn't in those, but you have another kind of credential, a certificate or state endorsement, that probably will be sufficient. You just need to check with us. And then at least 2 years of experience, though most people have, it's closer now to 10 is an average, and the lower number is more like 4, but we have people who've had 20 and 30 years, and it varies enormously. Every year we do send out people through the whole spectrum of years of experience, because projects need people with different kinds of experience, and also different kinds of attitudes towards being in different locations. So we encourage everyone to apply who meets the minimum. I think this might be the last of my slides.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that?
Yep.
Yep. I'll turn it back over to
All
Diane.
right. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. So is there anybody who is not a U.S. citizzen? Okay. Yeah. No, and that's not surprising, because that's the internationalization of the world. So I'm happy for that. And are you returning to another country, or you're living here now, staying here, living here now permanently, might return and want to stay? Okay, want to stay. Okay, there are different programs. Okay, so for most of the U.S. State Department programs are, because they're funded by U.S. taxpayers, most of the ones sending people from the United States overseas are aimed at American citizens, okay? However, we do have programs overseas, which you're already here, but if you have colleagues overseas, they should also know about, to bring teachers here to the States so that they can experience American culture as well, okay? I assume many of you are aware of the Fulbright programs. Okay, so what Fulbright is a sister program to us. They're in the next office is over from me. The Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistance is for English language teachers in foreign countries, okay? And they can apply to come to the United States to teach their first language at a university here in the United States, okay? So for example, we have students studying in the United States who want to learn Hindi, okay? So even though you're an English teacher in India and you're teaching English, you would come to an American university to teach Hindi, basically because learning how to teach languages and having that experience is valuable. So we would pay for foreign language teachers to come to the United States for 10 months to teach their native language, or their first language, mother tongue. And then they are also able to take classes at that university for credit. So they can take additional classes. So that's a good program for teachers overseas who want to come here. Okay. Other programs that we look to develop are we're looking at developing more virtual materials because obviously that's the direction that education is going, making it less expensive and more available to people. So we have a website and so Facebook, obviously, but we do 8-week online graduate level courses for teachers overseas who can take a class on a specific topics such as teaching English to young learners or critical thinking skills, et cetera, et cetera. They can take that class with an American university here. So this was one thing we were talking about, online education. One reason for coming out to Texas A&M and Commerce is you have a lot of experience with digital education, and so maybe seeing if the university here could develop a course for students overseas to take. So we offer those. We are also always looking for, we have something called American English Live. They used to be called webinars. I don't know what they're called now. But little 1-hour teacher training videos. So and we're always looking for people to do those, and you can be located anywhere. You don't physically have to come to Washington, obviously, because it's virtual. But if you have an area of specialty, you want to teach teachers around the world how to teach writing skills or whatever, or you want to teach them about corpus linguistics and why that is important in their classroom, okay? We would hire you. I mean, it's a contract, it's not employment, but to deliver a 1-hour teacher training webinar, which is then beamed out. I mean, I think we have on our Facebook page, we have 3,800,000 friends or something like that. So these are, because we're worldwide, so we have lots of teachers out there, and so then teachers from around the world would come and watch you and send in their little questions about, well, I don't know how I would use this in my classroom, and I'm in Korea, what would I do with this? And it's just a great experience, as a teacher, to try to share your knowledge with the world, and you can put it on your resume as well if you're looking to be tenured. We also are doing MOOCs, so massive open online courses, online open courses. We have 5 that are aimed for students learning English. So English for career development, English for journalism, English for media literacy, that students around the world can take, and we also have some for teachers as well. This is our webpage. I'm not sure, there we go. Okay, Forum, English Teaching Forum is a journal that we have. So we've been publishing English Teaching Forum for 57 years, 53 years, I don't know, yeah. Older than me, which is close to 50 years, 50, a little bit older. Anyway, this is a journal, this is a journal for classroom teachers. So if you have an idea that is a practical idea, this is a good journal to get published in, okay? We're always looking for new submissions, new articles. We love people who co-publish. We love articles not from teachers from the United States, but from teachers from all over the world. So I'll leave a couple copies. All of the back copies are on our webpage, so you can find it there. It can be anything for publishing, just a short teaching tip, something that you like in the classroom, or a slightly more research oriented article. So that's another opportunity if you're looking to get published, or if you have students that you're working with, student teachers that you're working with to get published, okay? The other thing we are working on now is we produce inexpensive materials for teachers overseas. I'm sure you all know the cost of textbooks and books in the world, and they are very, very, very expensive for many, many teachers in the world. So we produce all of our materials are open educational resource materials, which means you can rip them, you can sell them, you can do whatever you want with them once we put them out there in the public sphere. A couple up there, I think the color belt chart is not OER, but the rest are OER resources. Basically, we're just trying to make sure that teachers have the resources that they need. So if you've developed a cool resource and you are willing to sort of turn it into an OER publication and you would like to work with us, please let us know, and we would be delighted to share your materials with the rest of the world. Okay, this is just our Facebook page with our billions of people out there. And we also have a Facebook page for educators, so for teachers online, to share ideas of what they're doing in their classrooms. So if you were interested in doing research, in a classroom overseas, or maybe you were interested in comparative education, I'm not sure what you're all doing your theses in, that's a good way also to reach out to contacts to survey, and maybe involve them in research projects. Would anybody be interested in partnering with me? And that's the webinar series that, we are always looking for good presenters who can talk to the world. And we have different topics. We do about 12 a year of the AE Live series. Okay. And the MOOCs, and we have Arizona State University is running a MOOC for us now. We're in the middle of it, on professional development for teacher trainers. So that's there. And those are the MOOCs for learners. So I'll skip through that. So I'll stop talking, because I'm always nervous standing up in front of people talking. Even having been a teacher, I don't like to stand up because I prefer you guys to talk. Have you got questions about what opportunities are available, what other opportunities are available, what are you studying? What are you doing your PhDs in?
Mine is in second language acquisition.
Okay.
Teachers' feedback practices specifically.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, good. Okay.
Teaching forum.
Yeah. And what?
She's just finished her dissertation. She'd be good to publish in the English teaching forum. Yeah.
Publish yours. Yes, teacher. If you want to, we would be delighted for anybody to publish in forum, but it's like really practical stuff. So what kernel from your dissertation do classroom teachers really, what could they grab hold of that would be useful for them? We'd love an article. Yeah, cool. How about everyone else? What are you doing? PhDs in? No? You're all doing your PhDs?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. In second language acquisition?
No, we're doing it our PhD in applied linguistics.
Applied linguistics. Okay. And what would you like to do when you're done with your PhD? Academia?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. A good tenured position, professor. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, no. For those positions, then, if you're doing second language acquisition, applying, to be a specialist, if you become an American citizen, and if you want to become an American citizen, applying for a specialist position is great, because it's an opportunity to share your knowledge, worldwide. And there's also the Fulbright Scholar position. So if you became, once you finished your PhD and you wanted to do additional research overseas, Fulbright also has a 6-month or a 10-month program to go overseas. So and study abroad. Yeah. How about other people?
John, you're in one of my,
Yeah, as far as interests,
Yeah.
My interests are in English for specific purposes,
Okay.
medical English
Okay.
and kind of science English in general.
Okay.
But to narrow down my interest is kind of difficult. It jumps around quite a bit, especially at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Are you doing your PhD now?
Master's right now.
Your master's right now. Okay, finish your master's and apply, please, to be an English language specialist. We get hundreds of requests for how do I teach ESP properly? How do I do this? And often for the medical field. We often get requests for ESP for nurses, ESP. I was approached by universities in Vietnam about how all of the medical universities in Vietnam wanted one coherent English language course for all of their doctors. So yeah, we would love your brain. Other questions? Anybody else? Or what you know? Desires?
I would like, Diane, for you to see what's going on online. Hey, Shelby. Hey, Nana. Hi. So, Nana. Hello.
Hello.
So, Diana and Tony, Nana and Shelby are using these cubies.
Right. Yes,
so
I saw
they
them
can see
turning.
You did see them turn.
I saw them turn to watch somebody else.
Yes, they can go turn. So, Shelby, why don't you turn around a little bit? So, can you do that?
Shelby, say hi to me.
Yeah, say hi to Sal.
Hello.
Yeah,
I'm turning.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that way they can see what's going on in the
And
classroom.
talk to other students.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So Shelby's also doing her, but Shelby's teaching. Shelby, what's the company that you teach for? English.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera back on you. Yes, if you can see my background, I've been teaching online with VIP Kid for about 9 years now. So that's been while in the program here in Commerce, that's been my primary source for any teaching experience.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
Where are you physically now?
I'm actually about 35 minutes up the road, but I had some
okay.
with my kids, and so
Yeah.
this is really how I came into class. When
You'll
it was
see her
time.
at Texty, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just curious where people are.
But
Yeah.
Nana's you're in New York, right?
Yeah, I'm in Albany, New York.
Okay.
I will be presenting tomorrow. I'm in the AMPER conference right now.
Ah, very good. Okay.
Yeah, I wanna tell you that I came here to the States with a Fulbright. My first experience with FLTA.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I came here to Arabic.
Oh, wow. Okay, and now
Yeah.
you're doing your master's here.
No, I'm doing my
PhD.
PhD. Yeah.
That's
It was a
fabulous.
great experience. Yeah, I really encourage everyone who hasn't applied or tried it to go for it.
Okay.
It's really good. Yeah.
Great, good. We love to see our alumni doing new and adventurous things. Yeah,
Yeah.
Congratulations. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, super.
I have a
Good.
quick question about the
Sure.
specialist stuff, and I apologize if you had mentioned this in your
No,
presentation.
no.
But is it location bound then in terms of where I would reside in the United States? I've got 2 kids, and leaving the country for months at a time is not really a legal option. So what would with the specialist position? I know where your main offices are, but are you scattered geographically throughout the United States, or is that pretty location?
The specialist position generally is to take Americans and send them overseas.
Okay.
So to send them to different countries, to send you to Chile for 2 weeks, or to China for 3 months, or for, so out. However, yes, we don't want you to desert your children and anything like that. So what we are doing is we're piloting more virtual specialists as well. And this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier, is, getting away from the face-to-face all the time. So, for example, I have Rosa Aronson, who used to be the president of the TESOL Association. She is doing a virtual specialist for us with the newly established Viet TESOL in Vietnam. So she's meeting with them once every 2 weeks online to give them advice about, how to set up a teaching association. How do you set up the rules? How do you set up the board? How do you make it all transparent? Blah, blah, blah. And we're then, Rose is on a contract with the U.S. State Department, but she's not left her apartment. to do it. So, if you do have a specialty, and especially if it's a specialty like teaching kids online, it makes sense that that would be a virtual specialist. So you might be able to, if we get a request about teaching online, having a virtual specialist makes sense. And I'm new to my position in Washington because I was overseas and now I'm back in Washington. I am looking at how can we do more, both short-term and long-term virtual programs, because I think that's where it's an untapped market for cultural exchange, which is my bottom line, is what we're trying to do here is to get people to talk to other people around the world and understand people from different countries. So, yeah. So do apply is my answer. And
you.
the kids will grow up someday.
Hopefully.
Yes, and then you can physically go overseas if you wanted to. So, yeah. Any other things I can answer? I mean, no? Good. All right. Well, if you have any questions, you can always email us there. We're always happy to answer questions. We would love you to publish in forum, so I'll give you that. And we would love to see you
Well, half of them
overseas.
are volunteering at Tex TESOL.
Okay, so we'll be at Tex TESOL. Tony and I will have a booth. So if you have additional questions, individual questions, please come and see us. And then we'll have another presentation specifically about the English Language Fellow Program on Saturday morning,
Yep.
I believe, at Tex
So
TESOL.
want to be even more inspired we'll tell you more stories. And please come to our booth and get one of our lovely 50th anniversary notebooks. In fact, I brought them all this way. So
Aw.
give them to your faculty who we've
Okay, there you go.
There
There you go. I'll hand out
to
forward
everybody.
up here.
So,
Thank you. That's right. They're inspiring you to, but they're all available online anyway, so perfect. Good. All right. Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. Happy
Yeah.
Friday. Oh no, it's Thursday.
It feels like Friday,
You know what
I
it
know.
is? It's because it's Tex TESOL
TESOL
tomorrow.
coming
I
up.
keep thinking it might, so we've stopped.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming along. I'll see you all at Tex TESOL. Yeah. See you there.
Good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.